Hey guys, so can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, hey guys, so today is finally the day that I'm going to talk about my Oscar predictions, October update. And if you're looking at this in November or December, then I've posted new updates, so please be aware of that. I keep getting, a bunch of comments on my April video being like, "Oh, I can't believe you have this. I can't believe you have this." I'm like, dude, just check my channel. You'll see I updated it. It's okay. It's neither here nor there. So let's talk about this because some stuff has changed and some stuff has stayed the same. Like every update video, I'm gonna try to keep the talking to a minimum and just show you my predictions. That'll go by faster. I'll be starting with Best Documentary, and okay, so this is a category, a very stacked category this year. I'm not entirely sure what's gonna win, but there are some prime contenders here. I've added Free Solo to the list. That sounds very promising, the things I've heard. I am keeping Whitney in the conversation because I'm just biased, honestly, because my mom's friend worked on the film. And outside of that, I've lowered Fahrenheit 11.9 because I feel that some people are not big fans of Michael Moore. They might think the film is too obvious. It could still get in. It's just everything's up in the air right now. At the moment, these 5 documentaries seem very, very strong. I just know one of them is going to be snubbed. Yeah, not much else to say, really, but I do have a lot to say about Best Foreign Language Film. So this category, recently they revealed the list of eligible movies that they're going to consider. And for the most part, I had all of them up for grabs, but yeah, I'm pretty sure like this lineup did not change at all, the 5 at least. But for the longest time, I was going to include Rafiki, because I'm sure you've heard about that one. It's a film about lesbians from Kenya, and homosexuality is a crime in Kenya, but they had allowed the film to play specifically so that it could qualify for the Oscars. This story was on all the news sites, and they always mentioned how we're doing it so we can qualify for the Oscars. So I had it at number 2. I was like, this is a big, big story. Everyone's focusing on this film. It would be a great big deal if it was nominated or won. And then it turns out that Kenya didn't choose it for their Oscar submission, which is stupid. I'm sorry. I didn't see the other movie. I didn't see either movie, but like if any film could have challenged Roma, it would have been Rafiki, because that story is a story that Oscar would love. But whatever. All of these films are official Oscar submissions, and then in the coming months, I think there are going to be a short list, or they'll cut it down a little bit. I think they cut it down to 15, and they cut that 15 down to 9. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to Best Animated Feature. Oh, okay. I should have had more build-up to this, because this is my big no guts, no glory thing. So yeah, let's talk about this. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like, you're crazy, you're crazy. Here's my train of thought. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying sometimes you just need a film to root for. Now, if you're looking purely at the animated films this year, I'd say Incredibles 2 is your most likely winner. But what I've noticed, when you go back over Pixar's, all the Pixar movies to win Best Animated Feature, like, it never feels like a token win. It never feels like they're just checking off Pixar's name because it's Pixar. With the exception of Brave, I think all of their other wins are totally justified, because if you look at the movie and you look at the competition, you totally get why said movie won. Again, Brave is the exception to the rule. But I think that coming off of last year's Coco, which was an undeniable win, I feel that they're aware. that Pixar has too many Best Animated Feature awards. And they would love to spread the wealth around if they could get an excuse. And I know that it's a shot in the dark. I know it's an underdog contender, but I'm going to be rooting for it. Like, you ever rooting for one contender in a race that you know is a long shot, but it's fun to root for a long shot? Yeah, that's what's happening here. I'm not saying you have to predict it. I'm just saying it's nice to predict something fun. Moving on to Best Sound Mixing. There's not a whole lot to say about this. I've moved Roma up here, and also I've gotten rid of Mission Impossible, at least from the top 5. I don't know, it's a little bit tricky to judge at this point. I think A Star is Born is probably going to be your winner, because they love musicals in this category, and they're going to want to give it a couple things. Plus, the sound design in the film was really good. It makes sense to me. I think there's going to be a split, because people talk about A Star is Born and First Man, how the sound design in both films is going to be good. And honestly, I think there's going to be a split here. I think A Star is Born is going to win sound mixing, and First Man is going to win sound editing, which is a nice little segue. So, sound editing, I still have Incredibles 2 predicted to be nominated, which I know it's really, really risky to have an animated film in anywhere other than animated feature original song, but the first Incredibles film did win this category, so I can see it happening. Also, A Star is Born, I feel that this could be a coattail nomination. Just let's nominate it here because we can. Not saying it's definitely going to happen, but after La La Land got nominated in sound editing, I wouldn't chance it. I think it's a possibility. Okay, moving on to Best Original Song. Now, this is where things get interesting. I think Shallow is definitely going to be your winner. It's maybe the earliest locked category we have. I'll Never Love Again definitely seems like a coattail nomination. That's going to happen. I think it's funny, we know the titles for all the songs except for Mary Poppins Returns. We know that's going to have a song in it. It's going to have a couple songs in it, probably. Let's just wait to see. The trailer for that looked really good. And aside from that, the real challenge I'm facing is I'm trying to figure out which of the two Smallfoot songs is going to be pushed. Because I think they can get on for one, but not the other. And it's interesting, Finally Free is the end credits song, Wonderful Life is sung early in the film by Zendaya's character, and it is interesting because the thing about Wonderful Life is it's a bit of a sweeter melody, but it's the sound mixing on that particular song makes it so the first time you hear it, it's a little bit difficult to make out the lyrics, so that could hurt it. But it would be cool to have Zendaya performing at the Oscars, but it would also be cool to have Niall performing at the Oscars. So I'll see what happens. Also, let's talk about Black Panther. They changed the song submission from Pray For Me to All the Stars, which is weird because I think Pray For Me is the better song, and I think a lot of people thought the same thing. It could definitely still be nominated, but I'm not sure. And then Gravity, they like nominating songs from documentaries, so that could happen there. And then Hearts Beat Loud and A Wrinkle in Time song. I'm just rounding out the category. Okay, moving on. Best Original Score. I now have Black Klansman in the contention. Yeah, a lot of this stuff. I'm just at a loss for words today. Maybe I'm just my brain's not working right, but I feel that I don't need to say a whole lot because you can get the gist of it just by looking at it. Or even if I talk for too long, you can always pause it. It's interesting because of the films I have predicted to be nominated for original score, 4 of them are by African American directors and primarily about African American characters, and that would be interesting if that were to happen. But we can't say for sure. And let's move on to visual effects. Okay, so I finally decided to remove Solo for the reason that it is possible that a Star Wars film can miss. And this Star Wars film really missed at the box office, and a lot of people are forgetting about it already. So, it could definitely still be nominated for visual effects, but I'm not so sure. Ready Player One, I am going to see that today, is the plan. So I'll have the review for that soon. And then Mary Poppins Returns, I don't know, it makes sense that they could give it an extra nomination. I've heard a few people talk about it in picture or in lead actress. Now let's not jump to any conclusions just yet, but let's wait to see if the movie is good first. But I think it could definitely get in visual effects. Okay, and as for Avengers Infinity War, First Man, I don't really know what your winner is at this point. It could be any of them. Let's wait to see. But Infinity War would make a good winner, I think. Moving on to makeup and hairstyling. Okay, I considered having A Star Is Born in here, but ultimately decided against it. I think you have 3 basic nominees. I think Black Panther has a lot of impressive makeup and hairstyling, and I think Vice and Stan and Ollie, both of those movies have big transformations. And it would be weird if it was Black Panther, Vice, and A Star Is Born. Then you have 3 potential Best Picture nominees, and I think they're known. They can branch out and nominate some other films. I think Stan and Ollie makes sense as a nominee. If you've seen the transformation aspect in the trailer, yeah, it can definitely happen. Let's move on. Costume design. I still say that Mary Poppins Returns is... It could potentially be your winner, but there's no way it's not getting nominated. Judging from the trailers alone. The scene where they go into the animated world, and their clothes... I thought that their clothes were hand-drawn animated, but no, they were just designed to look hand-drawn animated. And come on, how do you not get nominated for that? So that's gonna happen. And then aside from that, I decided to include the Sisters Brothers, because I'm like, okay, we need something else to round out this category, and I'm not so sure about Nutcracker. And then I saw the trailer for Sisters Brothers, and it's a Western. I'm like, okay, they'll nominate some Western clothing. It'll be a good way to branch out the category a bit. And A Star Is Born is possible. That's only if they really want to go for, like, the 14 nominations. If they want to go all out and have this be huge, 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 and they need another category to nominate it, and then they go with that. Because Gaga, when she becomes famous later in the film, she does get a lot of, like, Gaga-esque costumes to wear. So that's a possibility. And then Crazy Rich Asians is also kind of a possibility. Let's move on to Best Production Design. Okay, so I included The Crimes of Grindelwald in this one. Again, I was just looking for that 5th spot, and I said, you know what, let's give it to Crimes of Grindelwald, because they like Harry Potter. They've nominated Harry Potter a couple of times in this one. And the last Fantastic Beasts movie won an Oscar, and I believe it was nominated for production design, so yeah, it could happen. That's pretty much how I went through all these categories. Like, yeah, it could happen. And then, moving up a bit, Best Cinematography. So, this hardly changed. I decided to have Black Panther on over Widows, because it was weird, because film editing and cinematography had the same set of 5 nominees, and I was like, that should change. And I'm starting to be more confident with Black Panther. I think that movie can really go the distance in terms of Oscar nominations and wins in major categories. Plus, Black Panther, that cinematography was done by the same lady who did Mudbound, the first female cinematography, Rachel Morrison, that's her name. So, I think that she'll have a lot of love, and that could definitely happen. Best Film Editing. Okay, now this is probably the most boring category, because I did nothing here except I added Green Book as, not as a nominee, but just as a potential nominee. Virtually no change here. But Green Book is starting to really look like a contender. I saw the trailer and I thought, that looks like a failed Oscar movie, but then people were like, no, it's legitimately good, and I'm like, okay, let's see how this can do. This really looks like it's going to be the Hidden Figures of this year, and I do question if maybe it's a little bit too similar to Hidden Figures, and voters will be like, no, we don't want to go for the same thing twice. But then again, that hasn't stopped Oscar voters in the past from voting for similar movies. Next up is Best Adapted Screenplay. Now this category is pretty crowded, as you will see. You will notice that I am now including BlacKkKlansman in the top 5, which I debated about a lot, but it was tricky. I think my main concern is Widows. We don't really know how blockbuster Widows is going to be, or if it's going to appeal to the Academy. That one's really, really up in the air for me. And then there's also Black Panther, which I'm feeling more and more confident about in other categories. Maybe it could surprise here. But if there is a crazy surprise, then that surprise comes in the form of, fittingly enough, Crazy Rich Asians. That could also be a player. Or Leave No Trace. Now, I believe that's Deborah Granick, Oscar nominee Deborah Granick. So, you never know. Okay, I'm trying to think here. And I don't know if Beale Street Could Talk is the winner, but it's what I have printed for now. I think A Star Is Born, we were unsure for a while if it was going to be in contention for a nomination, but now it's definitely going to be there. It may be a remake, but it changes a lot, and the script is very noteworthy, so I don't see how it doesn't get nominated. Moving on to Best Original Screenplay. Now, this is a category where we have a very clear and distinct 5. In alphabetical order, 8th Grade, The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, Vice. Those 5, right now I think everybody should have those 5, and I think those 5 are going to stick for a while. In what order, you can mess around all you want. But 6 through 10, I don't think any of them have a very real shot. They're just possibilities. I think we're seeing a 5 emerge, and it's looking like it's going to be a strong 5. But yeah, outside of that, you can put them in whatever order you want. I already said that. Let's just move on a bit. Getting to the acting categories, starting with Best Supporting Actress. Now here, I'm really, really debating if I should still have Amy Adams as the winner, because I want her to have an Academy Award so bad, but she was not showcased a good deal in the trailer. But the trailer does look Oscar-y, and maybe people will see it and they'll go, oh, what the hell, let's just give her an Oscar and be done with it. I think if she does win, then it's going to look weird, because it'll be like Jimmy Stewart winning an Oscar for The Philadelphia Story. Like, we're glad that this person has an Oscar, but why did it have to be for this performance as opposed to all the other great performances? Claire Foy is probably the more realistic winner. I've heard very good things about her performance. Nicole Kidman, also very good things. Regina King, she seems to round it out. And then we have, there's this whole issue with The Favorites. It's Rachel Weisz, Emma Stone, and Olivia Colman, and nobody knows what the category placements are going to be for the 3 women. And I had Colman in supporting and the other 2 in lead for a while, and now I've reversed it. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And honestly, I'm not looking forward to the film that much anyway, because I really did not like The Lobster. But people say this is better. Okay, I'll try to have faith. Elizabeth Debicki seems like a nominee, but you never really know with that movie. Marina de Tavira, she could contend, but I'm trying to limit. I realize I can't have too many unknowns, because that'd be ridiculous. I'm sure some unknowns can get recognition, but there's only so many unknowns that the Academy is willing to reward at a time. And Michelle Yeoh seems like something that could happen, but we have to keep an eye on her. She's rising in the rankings, and then Natalie Portman is also might be a thing. We don't know. So yeah, that's that category. Keep an eye on Michelle Yeoh, but I think 2, 3, and 4 are in a really good position. Amy Adams were really. It's like, how much can the overdue factor really help here? We'll really have to pay attention to that. And then The Favorite, I've already talked long enough about that. Best Supporting Actor. Okay, so let's really look at this. This is tight. So not only am I moving the favorite ladies around in terms of category placement, but I'm also moving around the beautiful boy stars. And I have Chalamet supporting now. I had Carell. in supporting. And now, so it's Chalamet. Okay, I just put him in the win spot because it was easiest, because I have no idea who wins this. I think Mahershala Ali and Sam Rockwell are both too close to their last wins. Like, Ali and Rockwell were literally our last two winners. And I think it's too soon to give either one of them another Oscar. Sam Elliott, I think he'll probably get on because the love for the film is so strong, but I don't think he has enough screen time to pull out a win. And then Brian Tyree Henry as the unknown factor. Not feeling well. Everyone else, I've heard very good things about Richard E. Grant, but I'm not sure how well that film's going to do. And then everyone else, I think, moved down a little bit. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope Michael B. Jordan can be a contender, but you never know. Moving up a bit, Best Lead Actress. So, right now, this is looking like it's going to be Glenn Close's to lose, and Lady Gaga is along for the ride, and then everyone else is just guesswork. Olivia Colman, I have her in lead now. We'll see what category she goes in. And then I decided I got rid of Kiki Lane, who was in my top 5 for a really long time, but from what I've heard, it's a very passive performance. And I have Yalitza Aparicio. I felt like, okay, that there were two newcomers in the category, and it didn't feel right. There should be I think one of them was going to go, and I got rid of Kiki Lane and added Yalitza Aparicio. And then Viola Davis, I just have her because the Academy loves her. But Melissa McCarthy, don't sleep on her. I've heard very good things about her, and I've had a hunch about her from the very beginning. And then, let's see, Keira Knightley. I don't think Keira Knightley's going to happen. I think that's just Oscar bait. There's one person I want it to happen for. It's Elsie Fisher. But I think that would be it'd be pretty rare. It'd be pretty odd for that to happen. We'll see how the film does outside of original screenplay. And then Toni Collette, everyone else says she's amazing. I'll have to see the movie eventually. Okay. Alright, so let's move on to lead actor. Now here, I feel that I think we've got a 6. I think this is a situation very similar to 2012. So 2012, remember, that was the year Daniel Day-Lewis won for Lincoln, but there was also Bradley Cooper, Silver Linings Playbook, Hugh Jackman, Les Mis, Denzel Washington, Flight, Joaquin Phoenix, The Master, and then John Hawkes in The Sessions. So there were 6 actors gunning for 5 spots. And judging from what I see here, I think that's what it's going to be. Cooper is in. Cooper is winning. Gosling seems firm in. Christian Bale, judging from the trailer, I think it's going to happen for him. And they like Christian Bale. Then Viggo Mortensen. Green Book is looking more and more of a thing. And then it's between Dafoe and Malick. And it was super, super close. Because early word has come out for Bohemian Rhapsody, and people say, oh, the film is just fine, but he's amazing. And we've seen great performances get on for not-so-great films in the past. People bring up Stanley Tucci in The Lovely Bones. But then again, it could also be a Hong Chow downsizing situation, or Emily Blunt Girl on the Train situation. It seems to not happen far more often. I think Malick will get love, he'll get like a Globe nomination, and people will start thinking it can happen. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think Dafoe is a more respected actor, but the tricky thing with Dafoe is if he's not going to win, maybe they won't bother nominating him. Because they do that a lot with older veterans who are overdue. It's like, why tack on another nomination? You're obviously not going to win this. And then Carell, we'll wait to see how the movie does. Hedges, Eastwood Hawke is just rounding things out. And now we move on to Best Director. So, I think Bradley Cooper is getting nominated. I don't know if Cooper wins. I think Chazelle is getting nominated. I don't know if Chazelle wins. Cuarón, Chazelle and Cuarón already have Oscars, which makes things tricky for them. And recent Oscars, too. Jenkins, I almost want to say Jenkins wins this, but I'm nervous about that. And then Ryan Coogler, I made Coogler my 5, purely because I believe in the film. but I don't know how well it could realistically do. We have to keep an eye out for this. This is going to be really tricky to follow. Anyone else? I added Peter Farley. Farley. We say Farley. It's spelled Farley, which is a little bit weird. And then outside of that, I don't really know. This is not very riveting commentary. I'm aware of that. Our last category is Best Picture, and so I don't know what to say about this one. Is the one thing I say is that Eighth Grade is no longer a predicted nominee. I think that is going to be lucky to get Screenplay. And I actually think it probably will get Screenplay. But I think it's going to be a Screenplay in one deal. I don't think it's going to get anything beyond that. And I've moved Black Panther up a bit. And I now have Green Book in the conversation. So that's nice. I really think, as I said before, I think that might be this year's Hidden Figures. And Widows, I've moved to the number 10 spot. That's now the one that I think is in jeopardy. The thing about that movie is, from what I hear, it's popcorn. It's a pure popcorn movie, but it's supposed to be very good popcorn. And what that means, it's blockbuster. That's not usually what the type of thing that Oscar goes for. So I think it's debatable. I have A Star Is Born in the number 1 position. I don't know if that means it's going to win Best Picture. I think at the moment it's the best bet. But at least for a nomination. Of all the films, this is the one that I can't see missing on nomination morning. But in terms of what I think is it going to win, or at least what I am rooting for to win, that would be Roma. I think it would be fascinating to see a foreign language film win Best Picture. I always want to see them be more diverse in the types of films they reward, so that eventually we might see an animated Best Picture winner one day. Maybe, possibly, hopefully, I don't know. So, that's about it. I don't think there's a whole lot else I can say. A lot of people do have the favorite in the Best Picture contenders, and I don't, because I am not a fan of Yorgos Lanthimos, but maybe he'll prove me wrong with this one. Okay, so those are my predictions, and I'll see you later. Bye.